Conflict has marked Basit Azizi's entire childhood in Afghanistan. He was born in 1999, 2 years before the U.S. invaded the country following 9/11. The Taliban always posed a threat.
When I went to first grade, that's when I started experiencing war, because our school was in front of Ministry of Interior in Kabul, and that was a favorite target for the Taliban at the time. I remember days, trying to hide under tables. I remember days, crying for example, for our driver, thinking that he might have been killed. There were times that a bombing will happen just down the street. 30 seconds just made the difference for us to be alive.
But an early exposure to music, to the trumpet, became his ticket to a brand new life in the U.S. Playing a Western instrument could have cost him his life under the Taliban. Scholarships to a prestigious art school in Michigan and then the University of Kansas would follow.
This was just an opportunity for me that happened. When I came to the U.S., that's when I learned that, wow, Afghanistan is not safe at all.
Azizi left his parents and 3 sisters behind in Kabul, which fell to the Taliban on August 15th.
I did not know that the whole country will collapse just in 6-7 days. I'm still shocked. My dad worked with the army for years, and when the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, he did work with American troops as well as NATO troops.
What did you go through? What kind of feelings did you go through in terms of his own safety? Did you worry about that?
I knew that their lives were at great risk. I wanted to make sure that they will be safe. They did not leave the house. They were inside for many days until they left to the airport that day. And there were, I think, times that my sister told me that the Taliban fighters were in front of their house, looking for people that they work with the government or have any connection or relatives in the U.S.
But Azizi's planning may have saved his family. Watching images of the Taliban swiftly take over city after city before Kabul and seeing the writing on the wall, Azizi got to work. He was interning at the time for a U.S. congressman and got help from his staff and others to help get his family out, days before the deadly explosion that killed 13 U.S. service members and nearly 200 Afghans.
It wasn't easy. It took some time. I didn't sleep that much. I didn't eat that much. But now I see that it was worth it. Now they're in a safer place, and they are grateful to be in a safer place.
Azizi's family made it safely to Dubai and are now on their way to be reunited with him in the U.S. He hasn't seen them in person in 6 years.
That's the best feeling that one can hope for, and so yeah, I'm very excited to see them in person and to serve them, to respect them, to share meals with them, and for my mom to cook food for me.
Finally see them, hopefully in the next...
There is joy and relief, but also sadness. For now, going back home is not an option.
In terms of going back to Afghanistan at this time, there is no hope. My future is uncertain regarding what will happen to Afghanistan. I really would like to go serve the country someday, but if what's happening today will be the case the next day, probably I might not be able to go there.
Francis Coe, CGTN, Washington.